What is up, YouTube? B368 coming at you with an updated deck profile for the Gravekeepers after the previous ban list. I did delete my old video because after going through it again, there was a lot of changes that I made to the deck. Because just for the fact of I wasn't looking at the archetype not only as a whole, but all the different techs that we could honestly pile into this deck. And the way that it's ran now, it could be a going first or a going second deck, literally just right from the jump. Optimally, this is a going first deck because of again Royal Tribute. If it is going seconds, this honestly, of all the decks I've played, this is the deck that can make the easiest swap outs into a going second deck. So let's just get right into it, and I'll show you the changes that I've made to the deck. All right, obviously we're going the usual triple spiritualist. For those of you who do not know, that are new to the channel, that are new to Gravekeepers and you're doing some research, this is spiritualist. This is basically your polymerization. So basically, when she is on the field, you can basically grab a Gravekeeper card, other Gravekeeper monster on the field or in your hand, and then you can use it to contact fuse into your supernaturalist. So Staple has to run 3 just to get that supernaturalist out, because once he is your big boss monster and win condition. You basically just lock out your opponent from being able to dark hole him or even twin twister Necro Valley. So definitely need to run 3 of her. 3 Headhunter, because again he allows you to go into link plays if you wanted to. He can recur anything back from the graveyard without being affected by Necro Valley. So definitely also need to run 3 of him. 3 Recruiter, this is your Searcher. It's a fairly easy 2-card combo that I use basically that can get you at least a +1. It's not really a combo, but you use this with the 1 spell and basically you can add a +1. So definitely need to run 3 of him. 3 Commandant, the Searcher for Necro Valley, of course, absolutely have to run, and the 1 Descendant. I am only running, this is my monster lineup, only 13 cards. Again, as I said in my old video, this deck, you should run very few monsters as possible, especially if you're going first, because again, your ultimate win condition is hitting Royal Tribute, and your opponent should have no answer whatsoever. So you hit Royal Tribute, you hit all their monsters, there's no way for them to recur. They're hopefully, like, if they're playing Pendulums, they're top decking. So at that point, basically, you should have no problem winning this deck. So, winning with this deck. If you hit the Royal Tribute on turn 0 with this low monster lineup, that's less monsters for you to get hit on, and all the monsters that your opponent has, because they are not going to be able to respond. So definitely run as few as possible. When you're going into game 2, that is when you're going to be siding out and going into all your side deck cards, which I will show you my side deck, because I do have that prepared now. I am planning on playing this hopefully at my next locals. We will see. Going right into the spell lineup now. Triple Necro Valley. You absolutely have to run this, honestly. Out of all the cards made in Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is probably one of the top 5 that they have ever made. It's super strong, especially in this meta nowadays, of being able to shut your opponent out from being able to do anything in the graveyard. And especially with Orcus running around, Salamander, it's still hanging on for their dear life, making tops and whatnot. So absolutely have to run 3. The new card I added in for the deck is triple super polymerization. Again, these are all dark monsters, so you can use them to make Starving Venom, or even again, this is how the deck has become a going second deck. You can use your opponent's monsters if you have no monsters, because we run such a low monster lineup, to use theirs and make a big boss monster. You can make Starving Venom or Predaplan, Draco, whatever, I can't remember her name. I'll read it once we get to my extra deck. But so many cards that you can use from your extra deck with super polymerization that can stun your opponent, that can, oh, they're about to make a big play. Yeah, get rid of that. We don't have to deal with that. Cool. Moving on. Triple Throne, this is your consistency boost. So we can either get an extra search or an extra normal summon. There's quite a few times in my testing that I have used an extra normal summon because, again, I used Royal Tribute or something, or even had a recruiter used the spell card down, but to show you, tribute it, draw 2, and then get a search, hit another card, do the same thing, get an extra normal summon. So this can allow for an extra extension, or it can give you an add. So definitely worth to have. Pot of Duality. Some people may not agree with pod duality because, with spiritualist, shouldn't you be going into supernaturalist all the time? This is also a consistency boost because, again, I get to look at the top 3 cards of my deck, and if I'm going turn 0, I want to be getting into that Royal Tribute as soon as possible. So this is like the only way, next to my next card that I'm about to show, this is the only way that I can dig into my deck deeper to hopefully get into that Royal Tribute turn 1 or again, turn 0 to try and blow out my opponent from being able to do anything. So right now we have 9 ways that we can thin our deck. We have the 3 Commandant, the Throne, and now we have Duality. And now we have another way, so this is going to be 12. Spellbook of Knowledge. Any spellcaster that I have, I contribute it to draw 2 cards. So again, you see with Recruiter, you tribute Recruiter with Spellbook of Knowledge, draw 2 cards, and then I get to search for a Gravekeeper, which I could probably search I would probably search Commandant, which I could then search for another Necro Valley. So again, another way of easily thinning my deck to try and get into that Royal Tribute turn 0. Then obviously the big boss card, Royal Tribute. I can't believe this is back to 2. Honestly, this is huge for the deck. If you can shut your opponent out by using this card, honestly, go for it. The funny thing is, I'm kind of waiting to see if this ever makes it into any other decks, because I do believe I did run this in my anti-meta, Malefic's deck, where I did run, it was a semi high monster count, but it was enough that it wasn't too crazy. Add in Necro Valley, or, summon big Malefic with another field spell. I think it was Gear Town. Activate Necro Valley, get out a Gear Frame monster, get out the big dragon, and you just beat face from there. So it was pretty decent. I'm waiting to see maybe this starts making it into other decks. Who knows? We'll see. Then we play for another stun, Hidden Temples of Necro Valley. This is the Vanity's Emptiness of the deck. So basically, the lock is, if I get Necro Valley, Hidden Valley, and Royal Tribute in the same turn, I have 1 monster, it should be game. My opponent will not be able to do anything. My opponent cannot get any big monsters. As long as I don't have to try and special summon anything, I should basically be set, especially, God forbid, if I have a Commandant that's at 2100. My opponent will not be able to summon anything bigger than a Commandant at 2100. So I at least run 2 of those. But with this, the cards that are easy to swap out, at least from this lineup, are at least these 4 right here. Royal Tribute and the Hidden Valleys. If you're going into turn... if you're going into game 2 and you're going turn 1, these are easy side out. And I'll just show you the spell right now. Obviously, it's spell to re-add the monsters back to your hand. But these 5 right here, easy side out cards. So you don't need to worry about it. If you're going turn 1, you'll see all the hand traps that I'm playing that are okay, these are way better than these, because again, I'm going to be responding to anything my opponent's doing. So there's no reason to run the Royal Tribute, because your opponent's going to dump all their monsters as fast as possible, and then try and use them as much as possible before you go your turn, because 9 times out of 10 you are probably going to get that Necro Valley out on the field. Hidden Valleys is set up for turn 0. No point to play that turn 1, because again, your opponent's already going to be set up for it. Still, it's okay, but again, it's an easy side out card. But that is the spell lineup for the deck. Now we're going to be going into the trap lineup. I made a few changes, but not too much. I believe I went from having 5 to 7, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But going right into it, obviously you're playing your tombs. You're the counter trap card for the deck. As long as you control a Necro Valley and a Gravekeeper, you can negate anything. So I only run it at 2. Some people run it at 3. 3 was just the way I'm building this. Seemed a little bit too cloggy, and especially with such strict conditions of Necro Valley and a Gravekeeper, it's okay, but it's not too great. But again, it's great enough that you play at least 2 of it for the consistency. Plus, it is searchable with Supernaturalist. So again, only run 2. Necro Valley Temple. For those who do not know, I run to this because it is a 500 decrease on your opponent's monsters, so even more of a heavy lock. So basically, from the original attack of the Gravekeeper monster, you're gaining a possible 1,000 advantage onto your opponent's monsters that your monsters will be able to beat over. But also it's the fact of it can recur Necro Valley. It can activate Necro Valley from the graveyard or from your hand. So basically, if your opponent was playing, for example, like Naturia Beast or some way to block you from being able to activate spell cards, you can activate this, play around it, because this is activating the spell card, not the spell card itself. So definitely at least run 2 of these. And again, it's an easy hideout card, so you can put in your hand traps for whatever you feel necessary to be playing into with your opponent's deck. And then we played the 2 Helm Strikes and the 1 Warning. May swap those into Judgments. Not really too sure yet. We will see how the deck goes. Then going into the extra. Obviously, you're running triple Supernaturalist. This is your big boss monster you want to be going into as many times as possible if you can. For those who do not know, basically if Necro Valley is on the field, he becomes impervious to destruction by card effects, as well as Necro Valley, he protects it. So that's pretty good. Plus, the main thing, which I always keep forgetting, you got to activate his effect during the main phase. You activate his effect during end phase, you get to search for any Gravekeeper card or a Necro Valley card. So you can search out your counter trap cards. You can search out for any more monsters you feel you're going to need for next turn. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, you probably should search for a monster because, again, you're going to be deck thinning, and more than likely, you may draw into the Necro Valley card you just searched off of. So there's no reason to search for that. Then a couple of the links: Nightmare, Cerberus, 2 E-Witches, 1 Decode Talker. Highly doubt I'll be ever going into that, but it's just there. 1 Beat Cop, and basically all the Super Poly targets. We have 1 Odd Eyes, 1 Starving Venom, 1 Violet Chimera, and then the 1 Pertiplant Dragostaplia. And then if you ever go up against other things and you can't get into your... you very rarely get into these because there's not that many level 4s, but if you have the opportunity to, might as well go into a Cowboy or an Abyss Dweller just to troll your opponent and or burn for damage for game if you are playing with time rules. Now we go into the side deck. You're obviously going to want to play triple red reboot because, again, since it's a counter trap that you can play from the hand, to stop anything that your opponent might do, especially going, again, turn 1. You summon your spiritualists, they try and, like, judgment or warning or something. Activate this to negate it. Activate, yeah, just as a trap card. So you activate this to stop the judgment, pay half your life points from your hand. Definitely a very good card that will definitely probably be seeing a lot more play this format, especially with triple judgment flying around. And it's going to be a very trap heavy format for this coming format. So definitely I would say if you don't have them, pick up red reboots. They're going to be so worth the payoff. Also for easy side deck cards, triple Ash Blossom, that's to stop your opponent from adding cards. Again, this build you will be going into will be going in for when you are going turn 1, not turn 0. So obviously you would play the triple Ash, the triple Effect Veiler, the triple Ghost Ogre, and triple Twin Twister for those trap heavy decks that you may run into, like True Draco and whatnot. But that's the side deck. Let me know what you guys think. This is my build for Gravekeepers. It's a very fun deck, and again, it can easily blow out your opponent if you have the right combos, which, again, as you see with my build, I tried to dig for that Royal Tribute turn 0 as fast as possible to try and get, again, Royal Tribute turn 0 to lock out to your opponent so they will not be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! At all for the first game. So, again, if you open up Royal Tribute, it should be an easy blowout turn 1 if you're going first. Game 1 should be an easy win with Gravekeepers. There's no decks that I can think of that would be able to recover from having a Royal Tribute done on the first turn, especially with such heavy monster lineups such as like Thunder Dragons, Orchists, and whatnot. Do not see any decks being able to recover from such a huge blowout this format. How high could this deck go? It could possibly make it to a regional event. I mean, I'm still deciding between this deck or playing my True King Dinos for an upcoming regional. I'm still trying to decide. I guess my decision will be made this upcoming Wednesday when I go to my locals. But let me know what you guys think of the build. If there's anything that I missed that I should be playing. If you agree with my logic as far as how the deck should be playing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you like what you saw and you want to see a couple other deck profiles, check out my YouTube channel. Check out a few of the other profiles I have. Normally, the decks I am profiling are usually very budget-friendly decks that are somewhat competitive. If that's something that would interest you, again, definitely check out my YouTube channel. Check out a few of the videos. And this is BB368. Sign out.